Welcome back to Horns High Studios for another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder. That means each one of these videos is less than 666 seconds or 11 minutes and 6 seconds. So no time to waste. Let's get right into it. But before we start, don't forget to like this video, drop a comment below. It helps it get out to more people just like you. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider doing that to help the channel grow. I definitely appreciate it. It's important to remember with all of my videos, these are for informational purposes only. These are just my opinions and speculation. I'm not an expert. I'm just using good common sense to help analyze this case. I'm not saying anyone is guilty of anything and everything is alleged. Now, just like when I mentioned when I talked about Jack Decor in the past, the partner or the ex-partner is always the number one suspect in a crime involving a passing like this. Always. Anyone who watches true crime knows this. As difficult of a time it would be for that person, law enforcement has to thoroughly rule them out before they can dismiss them as a person of interest or a suspect. So if I had that same scrutiny around Jack D, then why not Jake Schriger? He was Maddie's current boyfriend at the time the crimes happened, and there's not a whole lot out there on him. So if you can provide me any information down below in the comments, if you're more in the know about this guy, I'd love to find out more about him. And I'd like to do maybe a follow-up to this. Now, I've mentioned it before that I was not fully engaged in this case when it first happened in 2022. I do remember my wife telling me about it and just some of the basics. We were out of town visiting family. And, you know, the Murder Metal Mayhem podcast, which what I was doing at that time only, we do solved cases. So I wasn't really interested in this case for that reason. And once I heard that they had DNA of the guy they thought did it, I figured the whole thing was done. I had no idea of, you know, what the touch DNA and all that stuff. Now, I got sucked into the Alex Murdaugh trial the summer of 2023. But after that was done, I started looking at some of the YouTube content on the Idaho 4 and got really interested once I learned all the crazy twists and turns, and I was totally hooked. And that would have been around September of last year. And then it was, you know, watching several of the creators and how they did it and kind of how I wanted to do it. I've been doing Murder Metal Mayhem at that point for 5.5 years. So in December is when I started doing the 666 seconds videos, and it's been an insane ride ever since. So I haven't been following this maybe as long as some of you have. And I think that's why I sometimes see in the comments people saying, oh, well, somebody's already done this. This has already been talked about. Well, obviously, in a case that's 18 months old, you're going to have that. But some of the things that I'm looking at maybe been discussed before or months and months ago, but for me, it's new and something I want to talk about. And obviously you guys want to watch it. And I'm sure that there's some of you that are new to this case that don't know all the stuff that some of us do. So I think we all have different levels of knowledge about the case. And I think it's important, you know, no matter how much time we've spent on it, you try to help out those that obviously don't know something. So just remember, I mean, some of the new people, you know, possibly could be helping us out because there may be things we may have missed or don't remember. So we're all here to help each other out, help figure out this case. All right, so back to Jake Schriger. I learned that he was dating Maddie for about a year. They met at the University of Idaho. They were both marketing majors. He was a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity. Maddie was a sorority girl. And we all know the many stories swirling around the Sigma Chi frat. And that definitely made me perk up when I heard that he was part of that whole situation, because I look at any of those frats there as very cult-like, in my opinion. So we've heard the story that Jake was out of town, and I'm not sure where he was or how far away he was from Moscow, but if he was reasonably close, then couldn't he have gone out of town and then come back to be involved in this whole mess? I guess anything is possible, but did he really even go out of town? I mean, I've heard nothing at all about any kind of issues with Jake. And the fact that I can't find anything online, though, makes me kind of wonder. This guy's been like scrubbed. We've seen a lot of that with this case. And I don't blame these people, especially if they got money and can afford that kind of thing. But there's very little out there on this guy. And when you got money, you can do things like that. I'm not saying that's the case here. It just makes me wonder. I'm not saying this guy was involved, but if he was a member of Sigma Chi and they were involved in this, I suspect that they were. Could he have known that something was going to happen? He decided to leave town for that reason. I'm only raising the question. I'm not even speculating that Jake was involved, okay? But when it comes to the partner of a victim, as I said earlier, they deserve some serious scrutiny. Now, there is another thing that concerns me about Jake, and that's the infamous 4chan posts. I've reported on this several times, and it's uncanny how many details those posts had right. I've gone through all of that stuff in other videos, but Jake Schriger was referenced in those 4chan posts, though it was by his nickname, Rogaine. And I'm assuming that's because he was a balding guy. And of course, I understand Jake's pain, follically challenged myself. But I did see multiple places where people referred to him as Ro or Rogaine. So I think that's safe to say that's him. And here's what the 4chan post said, quote, Rogaine had ample opportunity and will play the grieving boyfriend, unquote. Now, I'm not sure what ample opportunity means. I mean, if he means like opportunity to do it, or is he talking about like the wealth of his family, like ample means or something like that? I'm not quite sure what that means. You know, I looked up his family. I really didn't find, I hardly found anything. I saw that his mother was living in Post Falls, Idaho, which is right by Coeur d'Alene. That's where Xana's from. But I couldn't find much other than it looked like she was a manager or had been a manager at an assisted living place at some point. I don't know who his father is. Or if his parents are together or not. I really would love to know more about him. So again, if you know more, comment below. As for the comment about playing the grieving boyfriend, I mean, what is that about? Does that mean he's play acting as a grieving boyfriend? That's kind of how I read that, but I could see how it could be interpreted different ways. And again, these 4chan posts were filled with correct information long before any of this stuff was known in the media. So I really wonder about Jake Schriger and whether, you know, he was really out of town, and if he was, where. Can this be confirmed? Did law enforcement thoroughly check him out? I mean, even if he was out of town, if he had some prior knowledge of this, that's definitely not legal. That's for sure. Now remember, he supposedly had asked Jack Showalter to keep an eye on Maddie and Kaylee that night since he was gone. Now, would you ask Jack Showalter to watch your girlfriend? I don't think so. Okay. So, you know what they say about the company you keep, right? So if you haven't watched it already, check out the brand new True Crime Deep Cuts episode I just did on the Idaho 4 with questions about how law enforcement processed the crime scene and the shaky DNA evidence. I interviewed a former Australian federal police officer as part of the episode, and his 15 years of experience processing crime scenes as an investigator and knowledge of DNA is fascinating. I think you guys will really like it. I'll link to that in the episode description. Also, don't miss my live tomorrow. That's Sunday, April 21st, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's Central Time. I'll be live with Blogger Girl, and we'll be talking Idaho 4. We'll be answering your questions. We'll be talking about the new alibi information from Brian Kohberger and much more. I'm really anxious to do that. Be the first live on this channel. So let me know what you think about this one. Comment below, share your thoughts. And I'd like to thank my friends at the Horns High Club. You guys are awesome. I appreciate your support. And I appreciate all of you guys for your support and watching these videos. And we'll see you next time for another 666 Seconds of Murder.